Welcome to second part of the two-part series on the crux of time management and personal productivity. In case you missed the first part, please look that part before dwelling into this episode. This video is in continuation of the first part, and we are going to explore topics such as task automation, automation of digital life, order of task, weekly review, journaling, avoidance of procrastination, myth of multitasking, Zeigernick effect, Pomodoro technique, productivity tips for teachers and students, and so on. Task automation is really important. Recurring shallow tasks or events should be scheduled in the Google Calendar. I entrust the Google Calendar to do this, recurring task, because algorithms are much more powerful than human being for doing this kind of task. Mundane task, I can say. For example, weekly fridge cleaning on Friday evening. Every Friday evening I clean my fridge. And weekly review on Sunday mornings. So again, that's a recurring task. Every Sunday morning I spend quality time, approximately 1 hour on review the task for the next upcoming week. So weekly review is really important. And some habits are something called keystone habits. So it's like keystone species. Some habits do have this chain reaction. If you do that habit, one example would be making bed in every morning. The first thing I do when I wake up every day morning is that I make my bed. I fold neatly my blanket and I make my bed really nicely, because that one small habit has got a chain reaction. My entire day becomes far more productive when I do this. So that such habits are something called keystone habit. There is a concept in Sweden called ordning och reda. Everything has its own proper place. So self-discipline is extremely important. So tidy up your space. Everything has got proper order and proper place, right? So no weird things or chaotic items on your desk or in your room. My time in school scouts have taught me a lot of lessons, especially on be prepared as well as the disciplined life. And also a few years back I went to Oli in Himalayas in Uttarakhand for my acclimatization training before going to Antarctica, ITBP. So I spent days with these army men, and it actually taught me punctuality and self-discipline a lot, as well as my time in Japan. 5 years I spent for my PhD. Japan is a country which is really fascinated with the punctuality. The punctuality is imbibed into the Japanese culture. You might know that Japanese trains how much punctual. It's not really trains, but the schedule, everything is extremely punctual. So punctuality matters a lot, so self-discipline as well. So rituals have got a lot of power, because it actually automates the same task again and again, right? So ritualization of the task is really important, especially for the morning ritual, right? So morning, the first 1 hour or 1.5 hours, it's always better to ritualize it. Habit stacking method is one of the things which I recently learned by the James Clear's book called Atomic Habits. So habit stacking is to develop a new productive habit. For example, meditation. I used to meditate sometimes, there is no actually irregularly I used to meditate. But then after learning about this habit stacking, just to inculcate this habit, a new habit into my lifestyle, I stack this habit on the top of an existing habit. For example, every day morning I brew my coffee. So the time of the coffee brewing for me, it's 7 minutes. So that 7 minutes I carved time for meditation for 5 minutes. So now every day morning when my coffee is brewing, I meditate for 5 minutes. So that's a very interesting way to cultivate new habits. And of course, success is a product of the daily habits, not once in lifetime transformation. Overnight success is a myth. It's a quote from the Atomic Habit. Highly accessible book. I recommend every one of you. If you ask me one productivity book which I would like to recommend to you, it would be Atomic Habits. Not that expensive book. Go ahead. It's one of the best book I've ever read in my life. Another good tip is something called Seinfeld's unbreakable chains of dots to create the productive habit. For example, walking. So every day evening I walk around my colony. So walking, if I walk, I put a dot on my calendar. So that dot should be unbreakable. So that is what the commitment, which it's a promise to myself, to keep up with this habit. So nowadays I don't actually do this, the dots. I used to do that years ago, when I started with this habit. Now, without even marking the dots, habit has been already part of my daily life. Every day I go for a walk, so that's really important. This if you really want to start up with a new habit, or even to break a habit, for example, if you drink alcohol daily, so if I don't drink alcohol this day, you can put a dot, second day, third day. So that the chains of dots should be unbreakable, so to get rid of a bad habit or to start a new productive habit, so that Seinfeld's unbreakable chains of dots is really good option. And digital life, you can automate it. It actually saves a ton of your the time. For example, Auto Hotkey is a very good scripting tool. It's a small program. You can actually run it in a Windows based system, or if you don't really like this coding, of course Auto Hotkey coding is nothing. It's really simple. Even a high school student can do it. But if you want more the graphical interface, and Phrase Express is really good for the Windows. So instead of typing all your address again and again, you can simply make one shortcut for it. Then the address will be typed for you, or running a program, anything. It actually saves a lot of your time. Or canned response of your email. I do that because these days I'm doing a lot of things with virtual internship or young science leader things. So many of my responses are canned responses. For that, the keystrokes I predefine in my Auto Hotkey. So instead of typing all the response again and again, or copy paste from elsewhere, this scripting is really interesting, and it actually saves a lot of your time. IFTTT is a very good app for the Android for automating. For example, the moment you enter your home, the coffee should be brewed. So all those tasks you can automate with IFTTT. Of course, you need Internet of Things, IoT enabled devices in your home for running this, those coffee things which I told you. Or for example, another IFTTT script which is running in my phone is that the moment I have any schedule in my calendar, my phone should go on a silent mode. And the moment that schedule is over, it will be going back to the normal state. So I don't really have to manually turn my phone to the silent mode. Everything has been automated. So that the script is really good. Another script which I have in my IFTTT is NASA's astronomy picture of the day. Every day morning, IFTTT downloads that picture for me. I don't really have to do that. So every day morning, of course not morning, but lunchtime, when I check my phone, I can see that the picture of the day of the NASA astronomy picture is already downloaded by IFTTT. So it's really good one. Or bibliography automation, instead of typing and retyping, changing the style for different journal, which manuscript that you submit to a different journal. So you can simply entrust into reference management, that is bibliography automation software like EndNote or Mendeley. Mendeley is freeware. You can try that. So that way you can automate your digital life as well. So order of the task can also save a lot of time. So you should know that which task to attempt first. So that order is really important. For example, if you are doing laundry, so do the laundry first, so that when the machine is running, you can technically do multiple things at the same time. You can save a lot of time. So thoroughly clean your home before leaving for the vacation. So that is another tip that I religiously follow before going for any vacation. I clean my house first, so that while coming back from vacation I have a lot of work. So on the top of that, I don't want to clean my home again. Of course, that doesn't mean that I don't have to clean. I do have to clean, but the effort will be much lesser if I do a pre-cleaning. And get all your ingredients before you start cooking. So while cooking, taking the ingredient, no, that is not a good way. It won't save any time. So just get all ingredients on the table, on the counter, kitchen counter, and then start cooking. So, and also clean up as you go, like immediately rinsing the pots before the bits of food can get hardened when it dries up. So that is also a very good trick to save a lot of time. Do most of the unpleasant tasks early in the day, and the rest of the day will be much more easier. Do the big task in the morning, and so that the small tasks you can do that later. Plus you won't have the dread hanging over you, so you don't really feel that, okay, that big unpleasant task is there coming up later in the day. So you will be simply wasting your small task energy for thinking of that big the sword hanging on the top of your head. So that's better. And some people they actually feel like they want to actually hit the small task, because that gives a motivation for a higher task. So if that works for you, go for that. So my style is that I tend to do that. As I told you, the creative task, I tend to do that in the morning, and then afternoon will be for housekeeping or shallow administrative task. And the weekly review, I told you, it's really important for me. It is in Sunday morning. So weekly review, what I do is that I have a trigger list, a master trigger list with lots of things, promises, commitment to others, summer, writing, readings to do, dorm, rent, hostel, things to do, places to visit, health, exercise, to read and listen, books, upcoming deadlines. All those things are part of my trigger list. Financial, health wise, emotional, everything. So I glance through my trigger list, and then I feed on to my weekly review. Next week I want to plan it, right? And also what actually happened in my previous week, everything I actually look at that, auditing. I do that on every week. So that's really important step for personal productivity. And while doing this review, I also look at my calendar, and it's a two-way process. I feed it, I get things from my calendar as well. And also I look at my master notebook. So daily to-do list, bullet journaling, and this after weekly review I feed on to it, the scheduling as well as for my to-do list. And of course I also look at my pocket notebook. So all this thing is part of my weekly review. And journaling is extremely important, because human beings forget 50% within an hour of reading or listening unless we continuously review what is being learned. So Ebbinghaus, the German psychologist, his landmark paper has revealed that we tend to forget a lot. So not taking or journaling is the only solution. Unless we take what actually take notes of what actually learned, we tend to forget everything. So many methods exist. Go with whatever you like. For example, Microsoft OneNote, Google Keep, Evernote, or physical notebook. So I prefer simple physical notebook, and I follow a method called bullet journaling. You can search out what is this bullet journal. It's simple, just put a bullet and put the note on it, and if you're completed with that task, you simply cross it. That's it, simple as that. And if you did not complete it, turn that bullet into a greater than sign and then reschedule to another day, so that way you can do that bullet journaling. Bullet journaling is really simple. And you can also put one round, a circle for the events of that day. And if you complete that event, just cross it. That's all. So I also use Google Keep for capturing random notes from the web, and also OneNote for the project like YouTube video, the video which you make it now. You're watching it right now. I have my own notebook for this video. An essay or recipes, all this I use OneNote, because I arrange it nicely so that I can come back at later point of time. So for to-do list, have top 5 high priority tasks in a list form. So that is what I do. My style of my to-do list is that I have just 5 points in my to-do list every day, of which the first point is the most important thing. So how do you decide is that point is most important or not? Ask yourself, if this was the only thing you did today, would you be satisfied? That is a question you have to ask. So if the answer is yes, then that task is high prior task. So you put that task on the top of your to-do list. So usually I make this list in the evening, a day before. The previous evening I make this list for the next day, and paste it somewhere you see in a highly accessible manner. That's really important. If you have a to-do list and it is deep inside your notebook which you don't even look at it, then what is the point of having the to-do list? I always put on the top, for example, on the top of my desktop computer, where I can see that I have always access onto it. So it's really important. I use post-it with Sharpie markers, so that method works me fine. It does wonders for me. I don't even write with the usual pen or pencil, because that is not really bold enough to catch hold of my attention. So Sharpie, the marker, is really good. And post-it, square yellow post-it notes are absolutely fabulous for me. AnyDo, Google Tasks, Google Keep are also popular apps for to-do list, but doesn't work for me. I like simple post-it method. But if for example, any do works for you, go for that. Why not? Check it out and then decide which method works fine for you. And of course, the scouts and guides have taught me a lot of things, especially being proactive rather than the reactive. So the motto of the scout is be prepared for any challenges in your life. Always be prepared. That's an excellent time saving method. Be prepared before attempting any any task in your life, and also be prepared for any contingencies you might see that. So this is another well-known quote. If I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. So this is a misattributed quote to Abraham Lincoln. No, it was not actually by the Abraham Lincoln, but you can see so many web references saying that this quote is by the Abraham Lincoln. It's not. It's an anonymous quote, but the quote is profound. So first 4 hours only for sharpening the axe, because if you have a sharp axe, then you can actually cut lots of trees in one go, right? So it is being proactive. Preparation is the key, friends. It's really, really important, and it saves a lot of your time. So to avoid procrastination, that is actually not doing the task in time. So if the task takes only 2 minutes to complete, just do it. Don't schedule it. Do it now. There is something called 2-minute rule of the productivity. So this rule have actually saved a lot of my task from going for procrastinating days or even weeks. If it's a small task, then why to waste time or schedule it or putting inside the to-do list? No, just do it. For example, sending an important email, just send it. So rather than scheduling it, I will do that later. Don't do that. If it takes just 2 minutes, then do it. That is my trick. So do the most important task first thing in the day, that I already told you, because of the willpower is the reservoir is limited. So as the days pass by, the willpower keep on reducing. By the time of when you reach the evening, then your energy levels are way less to do any important task. So it's another profound quote by the same Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, 2000 years old Roman quote. Putting off the things is the biggest waste of life. It snatches away each day as it comes and denies us the present by promising the future. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy. So see how profound the quote is. So the putting off the thing is really the biggest waste, because snatches away the day and promise of the future. So don't get deceived by that promise. And multitasking is mostly myth, because multitasking is usually not productive. So monotasking on important tasks increases the accuracy and decreases the time. So whenever I write a blog post, an article, or create a YouTube video like this, I don't actually do any other task. When I'm on a computer, when I'm writing something, or when I'm actually talking to somebody, I don't actually multitask. I just concentrate on that particular task. Right? Because it increases the accuracy. It's really, really important to improve the accuracy as well as the attention as well as focus. So monotasking is important, not multitasking. But if multitasking works for you, then go for it. Why not? So for me, I'm not inherently against multitasking. I do multitasking for certain tasks which are not that important. For example, I like to listen to podcasts while walking in the mornings, and I also listen workout music while running. This kind of workout music kind of increases my endurance. That is what my experience says. If I run without this music, I get tired after quite some time. But if I'm listening to this high beat workout music, I can actually run longer, and without actually getting myself tired. So this kind of music really helps you. So this is that multitasking. It works for me. So just check out. If it works for you, go for that. And there is a very interesting psychological effect called Zeigernick effect. So what is that? Leave projects unfinished to keep ruminating. That's really important. For example, if you're writing a blog post on a very interesting idea, then what I do is that I stop it in the middle of the sentence. I don't even complete that sentence, so that I have time for ruminate on it, and then I go for a walk, and after coming back, from that walk, I have lots of new ideas, so that I can expand it, I can review it, and I can revise it. I can actually take the entire essay into a brand new direction. So that is really important, the Zeigernick effect. A very interesting quote by Edison, the famous inventor. Never go to sleep without a request to your subconscious. So go to your sleep with request to your subconscious. So even during sleep, people actually get lots of ideas, you know. So that's really, really interesting. All this is because of the Zeigernick effect. You stop it in the middle of sentence or the ideas. Don't complete that idea. Let it brew for a while before even writing a good essay. You know, the essay can significantly be improved by making good use of this Zeigernick effect, taking leverage from it. And another very interesting technique for the productivity is called structured Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro is basically tomato, Italian word for tomato, the Pomodoro, because there used to be a timer. You know, it's a pretty classic kitchen timer, and the timer is shaped like a tomato. So that is why this is called Pomodoro technique. So it's basically, if you are doing a creative task which demands a lot of your time and energy, then instead of doing all in one go, it's always better to divide in small bouts of intensive task followed by proper break. For example, 25 minutes long brief intensive bout interspersed with 5-minute break. That is how the Pomodoro work stands for, you know. So during the bout, no distraction is allowed. Sometimes you know, in original Pomodoro also, this bout is referred as Pomodoro 1. That is 25 minutes of work followed by 5 minutes break. Then second Pomodoro starts, 25 minutes, then 5 minutes break. Then after every 4 such shorter Pomodoro, you go for a 30 minutes longer break. So that is the 4 Pomodoro forms one set, you know, like in tennis. So this is how the Pomodoro technique works, and this technique is really good if you are a creative person. So if you're an artist, for example, or if you're actually working towards your manuscript, you know, not really technical manuscript, but some creative manuscript, like a popular science article or a blog post, or writing a non-fiction book or a fiction, a novel, you know, all these are creative, or writing a poem. So, you know, you work for 25 minutes and take a break, and then you know this Pomodoro technique really works. And breaks aid in assimilation and perhaps idea brewing, the same thing which I told you earlier as a Zeigernick effect. So taking adequate break is also very important. And to save your time, you know, RSS or XML feeds are really good. I use a software called Feedly. So as you can see here, so many journals, instead of going to these journal one by one in their website, I just have to click here with, you know, all these headlines, and the whole story I can see without any ads. So this Feedly actually saves a ton of my time, you know. So why not you can also check out the Feedly or any of this you know, XML reader or syndicate reader, you know. So popular science journals also saves a lot of time. Instead of actually looking at the science section of every single news article, simply read one of the popular science, you know, journal, for example, New Scientist or Scientific American. In India, we have Dream 2047 and Science Reporter. And of course, there are a lot of regional popular science journals too. For example, Shastra Keralam and Eureka, where I also do contribute in. And also read news section of the Nature or Science. So that is highly accessible, though the articles are not that accessible, but news section is really accessible. Podcast also saves a lot of your time, because I told you, you can just listen to the podcast while going for a walk or run, or while commuting. You know, if you spend significant time on commuting, why not? You can make good use of it by listening to the podcast. Some good podcasts which I can always recommend is Naked Scientist, NPR Science Friday, Freakonomics, BBC Forum, and so on. Podcast Republic is a good free client for the Android. You know, if you are using an Android phone, I suggest you Podcast Republic as a software for downloading and managing your podcast. And for audiobooks, because audiobooks also help in multitasking while doing a core, you know, the shallow work. For example, house cleaning or dishwashing. Audiobooks is nothing but narrated books in an audio form. You know, professional readers, they read out the book for you to, you know, to actually catch up without physically reading any book. So Smart Audiobook Player is a good client for the Android. That is my favorite. So Smart Audiobook Player, of course, is a freeware, but premium version you have to pay for it. So it's another quote I like. This is by Albert Einstein. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. So lifelong learning is really important. So to improve your core competency, be resourceful and always stay a student. You know, keep on reading. So read more, but choosy what you read. It's just like internet. There are a lot of crap books. If you think that a glorious library with full of nice looking books are really amazing treasure trove, no, you're mistaken. Any library, if you look, 99% of books are crap, only 1% are really good books. So it's not that anything published is worth of reading your time. No, we all have limited number of time in our life. We are marching towards the death, so we have to prioritize what to read, which book to read. Not that all books are really good. A lot of books, as I told you, 99% books are real crap. Just like the internet, only some resources are reliable, same way as for the books as well. So be choosy what to read and maintain a standard of performance. Improve your core competency by reading a lot. And speed versus velocity, that the difference here is that the speed is not a vector, but velocity is a vector, right? So productivity is also a vector. So vector means the direction matters, where exactly you're investing your efforts in. That is really, really important. It's not that hard work, but exactly hard work in important task over the urgent task. That prioritization is really important. Where exactly you put the directionality is really important. So that is why productivity is like velocity, it's a vector. And also don't forget something called self-compassion, because you should know when to quit. Not all the tasks are, for example, if I dream of going to moon, I can go to moon. No, you cannot go to the moon. Only very few people can go to the moon, right? And you should know when to quit exactly. That's really, really important. And dream big, follow your heart, follow your passion, etc. are not good advices. I have extensively written about it. Please have a look. It's linked up in the in the this show notes of this video below. So don't be passionate and don't be overconfident. Plan and prepare for contingencies. The bad days. That's more important than simply being over ambitious and think like an overachiever. No, don't be like that. Perfect is the enemy of good. So that's really, really important. Looking for the perfection and wasting all your time and energy for making one task in the most perfect way is simply wasting your time. So there is a very famous concept in Japan called wabi-sabi. So wabi-sabi means finding beauty in imperfect, impermanent and incomplete things, because these are natural things, So try to find that joy and pleasure and aesthetics in such things in your life which are impermanent and imperfect. So that is exactly, don't go for over perfectionism. Quantity is sometimes better than quality. Everybody say quality is better than quantity. Not really. Quantity is also better. For example, lucky imaging in Curiosity, 6th episode of Curiosity, I have covered about this lucky imaging on Gemini, how Gemini Observatory took that fantastic picture of the Jupiter. It's not that they actually refined their algorithm to take one good picture of Jupiter. No, they simply took thousands upon thousands of images and one of the image was really nice. So that is what the quantities, it just beat left and right the quality. A related concept with the academic publication is something called equal odds rule. So the true impact of publication is not really correspond to the impact factor alone or the number of publications that you have in quality journal. Lots of publications sometimes is better, because out of this lots of publication, one publication may turn out to be paradigm shifting after many years, who knows. So that is also very important, the equal odds rule. So quantity is sometimes better than quality. That is something that we all have to learn. So, and be self-compassionate. That's really, really important. Acknowledge that the task always take longer than we expect. That law is something called Hofstadter's law. So the task take longer than we expect or we anticipate. There is a connected law called Gates' law. Many people overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year. So, overestimate means that they think that they can do a lot higher than what it's possible within 1 year. So while underestimate what they can achieve in the span of 10 years. So in 10 years is sufficiently large time. You can do a lot of things, publish very interesting books, but people tend to underestimate. They think that they cannot do that much in the 10 years time. So that is Gates' law. It's very, very interesting law. Another of my favorite quote is, be less curious about the people and more curious about ideas, by Marie Curie. So yeah, instead of simply squandering your time on mindless gossiping, right? So look at what is actually very interesting ideas, read more. So if you look at the opinions, facts or concept, so concept is more important than the facts, facts are more important than the opinions. So facts are more important than the opinion. That's really important. Opinions cannot be proven true or false, unlike facts. And facts are specific pieces of information that are memorized. For example, Socrates taught Plato, and who taught Aristotle, or 24 alphabets in the Greek, or Charon is the biggest moon of dwarf planet Pluto. You can use memory device to memorize the facts, like mnemonics, flashcards, saying out loud, Japanese method of pointing and calling. All this saves a lot of your time to memorize the facts. Now I need a drink. Alcoholic, of course, after a heavy lecture involving quantum mechanics, is popular mnemonic to memorize, pi 3.14, right? So if you memorize this one, so you can see that now is 3, 1, 4, 1, 5. So that way, these are just common mnemonics that you can make use of. So concepts are more important than this kind of facts. So facts is simple memory device, but concepts are more important. For example, rhodophytes have triphasic life cycle, adverb, planet, and so on. So concepts are giant semantic tree. Learn from fundamentals before advanced. So learning from the advanced straight away, jumping into advanced is a very, very bad stuff that many students do it. So you have to start from the fundamentals. And if you want to learn about from the textbook, SQ3R method is fantastic for surveying from which textbook to learn. So SQ3R is basically survey, question, read, recall, revision, and for the textbook reading. The first step here is survey. For the best textbook in the field, you have to look at different kinds of textbook and choose the best, and scan the chosen textbook, illustrations, change the book if not appealing. So don't start completely read it, just scan it, look at the illustrations, and if you don't like this textbook, just change it and get a new textbook. In a bookstore, of course, you don't have to buy it, don't commit it yourself first. And of course the teachers also, it's not that one subject only learn from one teacher. No, you can try different teachers, and whichever teaching style you like, go for it. In the time of online teaching and MOOC, getting multiple teachers for the same class is not that big deal at all. And question is that to write down key questions about the subject that the student have in her mind about the subject, so before even start reading the textbook. So this prepares the student to look for the right information in the book. Next up is read. Read the textbook carefully with extensive note taking on the notebook. So there is a method called Cornell method, so in which you put a lot of margin space and top space. So margin space is for reviewing, while top space is for the revise after 1 week time. So all this revision helps you to put those concepts deep inside your memory, right? So while reading, try to look up the answers for the earlier questions, and if answers were not found, read the textbook again. So that is the read step. Recall is try to recall the answers from the memory, but if it's stuck, then it may be looked up in the book, right? And finally, revision. Periodic scheduled review of the notes. Teaching is also a good way to learn. Teaching others is an excellent way to learn the concepts. And for teachers to save time, flipped class method is amazing. Record your lectures, audio or video, and let the students prepare before the lectures, like what I'm doing with my YouTube videos. I lecture a number of my lectures are in the YouTube, and I ask my students to watch it before coming to the class. So the class time I'm utilizing for discussion, so problem solving and discussion for the converting the classroom. So it saves a lot of your time year after year. Of course, you need to invest some time for initial first year, and then the next year onwards is going to be really it saves a lot of your time, because lectures become automated. Of course, if you want to correct it, you need to correct it, and of course you can do that in the discussion section also. And other productivity tips include cultivate humility, diligence, and self-awareness are important over ego. And feedback loops and reflect on the performance. That is a Japanese concept called Kaizen. Change for good, continuous incremental improvement. Learn from the failures. I told you this is a core scientific methodology. Learn from the failures. So that is exactly what the feedback loop is all about. You might know the quote, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results. So practice makes man perfect. No, it doesn't. So learn from the mistake is more important than simple practice or doing the same thing over and over again. Ambitious but patient. Patience is also important. Innovative without being brash. You can be innovative, you don't have to be brash. Brave without being dangerously brave. Dissolve your opinions, judgments, assumptions, beliefs, and stay open and curious. Stay a student, read a lot. Manage emotions to manage time effectively. So emotional management is really important because mental energy is very important. We all have limited willpower, especially daily willpower is really limited. That's why I'm telling over and over again that prioritize your work so that the creative task you're spending on the first half of the day, and focus on effort, not on the outcome. So only on the effort you have to actually focus. Outcome may come or not, don't worry about it. And if failures come, just endure it. That's always better. So failures are not antonyms of success, it's part of success. So that's one of the common misconceptions because of the group thing in our society, hardwired in our social norms, that failures are considered to be antonyms of the success, but it's not. It's part. Failures are, we have to treat it as an information to inform the future decision, just like Bayesian concept or Bayesian inference. Unexpected results are inflection points to keep improving. So that is really important to treat the failures in that way. And to live happy, live hidden. Be unpretentious. Don't be show off. So living hidden is really a good key to live a happy life. And be lesser, do more. Be lesser, but do more work, to inspire others. And don't compare yourself with others. That's another common mistake everybody does. We tend to compare with other people. Don't do that. Holistic systems are better than goals. Consider the world like a niche, so interlinked, like web, like a reticulous niche, so that everybody has its own task in the world. It's not that only scientists or professors are really great, or politicians, and the other creatures have no roles. Not like that. Anybody has got its own role to play in the giant niche of the world. Facts are better than the dreams. Dream big. It doesn't lead you anywhere. But action and that actually is important. Action and reading and doing the things is more important than simply dreaming about it. Focus on action and education. So both are really important. Forgo validation and status. Don't worry much about the validation and status. It may come, it might not come. It might take more time for validation to appear. Doesn't worry anything about it at all. Just concentrate on action and education. And embrace the change, randomness, and handle uncertainties. All these are really important, but people tend to overlook it. Randomness, So instead of that, they think that the life is like a linear fashion. No, life is always with lots of randomness, lots of hurdle, and lot of changes. So be prepared for the contingencies. This is another famous quote by Socrates. Just as one person delights in improving his farm and another his horse, so I delight in attending to my own improvement day by day. He didn't say that I have to improve myself day by day. No, there's nothing like an external force, but he said that he is finding a delightness. I delight in attending to my own improvement day by day. So self-improvement is really important to improve yourself. So learning from the failures is important. The feedback loops are important, and how you are spending your effort, the task, prioritization of task is important, so as managing the time and emotions, everything matters. So we should treat our life as a holistic system. That's extremely important. I hope this video has been useful to you. If you like this video, please click thumbs up and share it in the relevant groups, and subscribe to my channel. I tend to feature a lot of videos, original content like this. Thanks and have a nice day. Goodbye.